Welcome back, everyone, and you are with me, Mohammed Tube and Shahzad Khan, for a special live transmission for Pakistan Day to observe what is happening today. What does it mean to us? Back in 1940, what did that resolution mean? Obviously, it meant that a state was created, and now here we are sitting on, a state channel that's representing a country, talking about their national day. And, I feel really proud of this fact because, this is one thing I've always wanted to do, that I wanted to achieve something and show the positivity and all the good people in Pakistan and all the work they're doing.
And Maha, it is so beautiful to be surrounded by people like these
Seriously, such a nice day.
who've actually lived through those days and then who've actually lived through these days as well. So they do actually know about the evolution. They do know about the progress we have made so far. But then there were a few loopholes which we primarily need to focus on, but we haven't because of the fact that there were hurdles. But then we have been fighting, we have been battling, and then we are safe till now, and we will be till eternity.
Exactly.
But then, as a matter of fact, what matters to us is that earlier in the first half, for all of those people who just tuned into PT1 and are watching this special transmission, in the first half, we have discussed the historical point of view. We have discussed how leadership roles were back then, how they are now. But now what we need to do is that we need to primarily focus on the roles which the youngsters need to play and that social fabric which was there, those values, those norms.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for tuning in, first of all. And we've got somebody new with us.
Exactly, we do. I'm going to introduce him in 1 second, but I just want to add
right.
one more point to yours.
1 second's yours.
Thank you. You're so kind today. No, but like Shahzad said, what the youth are doing right now, but however, some of these issues that we're going to be discussing, which we have for the last 2.5 years, the women's role, and I know that this is a very interesting topic.
Yes.
Yes, it is. But the fact that back then, I don't think we learned this within our media, within, the information and the history, that women played a vital role back then, and they were a huge support. And they actually had certain women's wing created in 1938 of the All-Muslim League, and they also had their annual meetings, and so we're going to be discussing their roles and what does it mean to us now. So we have been joined by someone new. It is Dr. Ilhan Niaz. He is the Assistant Professor of History at Quaid-e-Azam University. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Assalam. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and we've also been thank you for staying with us, Irshad Ullah Khan. Thank you so much for staying. And besides Mr. Irshad Ullah Khan, we've been joined by Major Ehsan Bashir. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to start with you because you are new on our panel today. It's Pakistan Day. Socially, Pakistan, I'm feeling the patriotism, I'm feeling the nationalism. What is it for you as a history teacher, professor? Should we be celebrating as we are?
Well, of course, you ought to be celebrating the event and the fact that we have our own country. At the same time, such occasions are always opportunities to reflect on what we could have done better and on what kind of Pakistan our founder wanted, particularly with reference to some of the issues you've already raised in the earlier segment, and also with the other issues pertaining to social justice, the role of women, youth, etc. So yes, it's a happy occasion, and it's also an occasion for reflection.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what type of reflection do you see now? What type of reflection do you
Should we be
witness
doing
in 2016?
Well, I think that at one level, if you look at what Jinnah said and wrote and what the All India Muslim League promised in the run-up to the creation of Pakistan, what we have seen, unfortunately, in Pakistan is that we seem to have lost sight of that original vision. And part of that vision, of course, was an emphasis on modernization. It was an emphasis on bringing about a real industrial revolution in our country. It was in bringing about what Jinnah called a Muslim Renaissance that would see the revival of the secular power of the Muslim world, and Pakistan would be an essential component of that revival. Okay. So I think in some respects, we have gotten a little bit off track, but then the good thing is that, at 70 years, you can also get back on track if you are of such a mind.
Absolutely,
Very nice,
wonderful.
Very well said.
Yes.
But then at the same time, when you say that we might have lost the track, in which areas particularly, so that we can focus on it more and then we can be a better individually as well?
Well, one area in particular, I would say, is in the treatment of women in Pakistan.
Thank you.
Who are half the population. And as far as Jinnah was concerned, he made this point at numerous occasions that a nation which does not respect and ensure equal treatment of its women can never really hope to progress and can never really hope to realize its full potential. And if you look at his speeches and statements on numerous occasions, he criticized the practice of parda, for instance. He insisted that there ought to be complete legal and social equality.
Yeah.
And he made it, although it wasn't perhaps a very popular thing to say, it, strictly speaking, there were a lot of religiously conservative people
Yes,
back
there
then
was.
too. But he made it a point to mobilize women as part of the Muslim League's strategy. And there's a fantastic book on this subject by Dr. Dushka Ait Sayyid, which was published by Macmillan back in 2000. It's a doctoral dissertation. And it basically is all about the mobilization of women by the Muslim League, specifically in the areas that are now part of Pakistan.
Wonderful.
So it's really ironic in the sense that women sacrificed so much for Pakistan,
Yes.
and I don't think that we have actually kept the bargain with them.
Let's see what Ishaq Sahab has to say about it. Role of
Exactly.
women.
And I'd just like to add something on what Dr. Niaz has said, that about the women's role back then. They played a vital role, and then we kind of saw them not in playing so much of a active role in the 70s or 80s. Correct me if I'm wrong. But now slowly we're seeing a
Yeah.
revival. What do you think about this?
I think it's more than a revival.
I think it's a slow takeover.
we've had a lady prime minister.
Yes.
We've had women fighter pilots.
Yes.
We have had women in our armed forces. We have had women judges
Yeah.
and business women in all sections of our society. So what we are seeing is a section of the society is very well represented. But what
Dr.
Professor Saab was saying, a section of our society, I think, is not represented. For example, honor killings
Yes.
in our villages, in our towns. The way things have happened in courts here, in Islamabad.
Exactly.
Now that's another section of the society of women, which is not represented at all.
Exactly. Women's in prison.
So, on the whole, equal empowerment in that sense has still to take place. We have to give the respect back to all the women of our society,
Exactly.
not just a certain section.
Absolutely wonderful.
But why do you think that we haven't done that so far? And that is why my very amazing co-host said that 70s and 80s, right? We're not talking about today, we're not talking about 90s, because we are progressing now.
Yeah.
What did you do in 70s and 80s to do that?
70s and
We're not
80s.
blaming anyone. We're
we're
just
not
asking.
blaming, but
We were too
you had to
young.
play your role as well.
He
You were
wasn't
there.
born.
Yes, yes. 70s and 80s, I played my role as a businessman, where I gave equal opportunities to women.
Thank you for that.
Excellent.
But what is more important is this, that in today's Pakistan, coming back from 70s and 80s to now, 2016, we need to do a lot more of that. A lot more of that.
And this is one place I would like to say that, this is where the Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, has actually done really well with the Women
Exactly.
Protection Bill. And that, it's new. but
Thumbs
it's,
up for that.
But it has to be implemented. But the whole, at least we're going towards the right track. People's rights are being respected. But actually, before we bring Major Essed into the conversation, we are going to go for a short break because we have one more guest that's going to
Yeah.
join us. And when you come back, we'll complete our panel and then continue our conversation.
And we'll defy all odds.
Stay tuned.
A few words as far as the significance of 23rd March is concerned.
You witness everything starting from 1940s till 2016.
पाकिस्तान का मतलब क्या है ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह Pakistan from becoming a slogan became a movement. Students and women both play a very important role in this movement.
Do you think that Pakistanis are a nation anymore?
The basic purpose is to change the mindset of those who think that they are superior.
The element of patriotism is eliminated in our youth.
We may go occasionally for a postgraduate something, but ultimately the purpose is to come and serve our country.
Very little amount of budget is allocated to education.
So today, Europe is struggling with 700,000, 800,000 refugees, and they can't decide what to do. We had 5 million refugees from Afghanistan, and they have been living here for the last 35 years.
Is it our overconfidence that we are united and we are not going to be finished?
We are a very resilient nation. We have gone through very difficult phases and we have come out very well.
We are progressing, we are moving ahead, and we are in the right direction.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. First things first, Pakistan Zindabad. It's Pakistan Day today, and we have dedicated a special transmission on this day because of the fact that we want to create a ripple effect. We want to recalculate all of those values, norms, and all of those cultural things we had earlier. But earlier, before, going towards this break, Maha was actually trying to highlight the women's role because it was very essential and important back then as well. When it was 23rd March 1940, they had special policy for that as well. And then, all Muslim Party, they made sure that, that women were hand in hand with them in all of this struggle. But now we have been joined by someone, and he is?
Abdul Jaleel. He is a social analyst. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So basically now, let's go back to the resolution. And I'll ask you, sir, within the resolution, the whole point of, the creation of Pakistan was for Muslims and for minorities, so that they have equal rights, treatment and opportunities. We haven't seen that over the last few decades, but slowly we're going back to that, the whole humanitarian aspect of it. What were the particular things that Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah said back then that he wanted Pakistan to be?
Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he gave a special statement after the passage of this 1940 revolution, and that should be noted very, deeply. What he said, that if Dr. Iqbal would have been alive today, he would have been very happy to see that his dream was coming true today. We are trying to create, this is an instrument of 1940 revolution, what he said, that it would facilitate or it will help us in attaining a free homeland for the Muslim, where the Islamic civilization would be tried, experimented, and it would be established. And Pakistan, that a future state, a Muslim state which is coming into being, will serve as a kingpin in the unity of the Muslim world, number one. Then he says that it will become a laboratory for the establishment of Islamic civilization. But now we need to interpret this revolution in the light of Iqbal thoughts. And Iqbal thoughts, when you are turning back to Iqbal thoughts, you will have to first think that how Iqbal has defined the status of a human being. That's the core issue. And he said, throughout his philosophy, Iqbal has defined the status of a human being as in the light, in a Quranic definition, that man is a vicegerent of Allah. He is a deputy of Allah. He is a co-worker of Allah, and he says that he somebody who is predetermined to fulfill the half-finished scheme of Almighty God here on this, in this universe. So in order to fulfill it, he said that the man has to realize all his creative potential. And then in one of the lecture, Iqbal has very rightly said, he said that Allah Rabbul Izzat says in Quran, Kulla yawmin huwa fi shan. My every moment carries a new glory. He said the God Almighty is the most creative force in the world. That's the ultimate definition of a human being. He keeps on adding things. And he says the Almighty God expects that his creature, his vicegerent, his deputy, he should develop the same color of divinity by promoting a constant culture of creativity in this universe.
Okay,
number one. And number two, it says that, you know, for example, Iqbal says, Tu shab afridi man chirag afridam. You have created darkness of the night. I have removed the darkness of the night by inventing lamp. You have created the sand. I have created mirror out of it. You know. So then he says in one of his, Kare jaan daraz hai, tu mera intezar kar. He says that so much. I have to do so many other things. Now he says to Almighty God that you wait. I have to finish the whole process of creation according to my dream, and I possess my individuality.
Okay.
Very wisely said, sir. But I would love to move on to Major Hassan over here. Now, sir, what I want to ask is that, you know, we have witnessed the 23rd March parade as well, and there was a very smart contingent of, you know, lady officers, and then they were march pasting, which actually gives out a very strong message to the entire globe that we are hand in hand with them. But then, at the same time, other than the armed forces, we do have other fields, engineering. We might have a lot of doctors, but then other than that, aeronautical engineers, so many other fields which needs to be filled with all of these females out there. And they're not there because of the fact, first of all, there's lack of opportunity, and then we have those family issues and then those stigmas attached to that as well. How do you think we can get rid of that?
Well, to my mind, let's divide this women into two segments. First is the segment in which the women are working out there, in which you are mentioning, and they go out and freedom is required and all that. And the other important segment is where the woman stays home, and they have got a very important role to play there as well. They need freedom of action in there as well, in a house as well. While being a classical housewife or whether being a mother in a house, she needs all the freedom. So we need to really differentiate in these two. Since the creation of Pakistan, Pakistan was created, but I tell you, important thing is that the women, had the women not been there alongside with the men, I think maybe Pakistan might have been created, but then there could have been a difficulty. It was the final touch and the final growth was given by the women finally, once they decided that we will side with the Muslim League, and we will be part of Muslim League, and that was probably late Liaquat Ali Khan's wife. Probably once she raised the voice and she said, we will be part of all this movement and all that, and that gave a very strong message all along that now this will be created, because now the woman is behind. So the role of women in any society cannot be denied. But you are very right that initially, once Pakistan was created and all that, we never had a different policy, to my man, to say that where the freedom, that freedom, classical freedom, which was required to be given in this separate homeland, which was given to the Muslims, the women were not given that freedom. Their role was restricted to some extent. But then later, once they proved that they are, capable of doing all these, whatever the men can do, then they started off and the women have been given. Presently, what the present state in, if you say about 2016, if I say, the women are much better than the women which were in Pakistan in 1948.
Okay, that's an interesting point. I'm going to bring Dr. Niaz into this because you're mentioning about the role of women and even back then. Do you agree with this statement and this conversation, the way it's going? Because what I'm listening to right now is that the question that came into my head is that why do we, in 2016, need to go back to Iqbal or need to go back to this to teach our youth or kids what a human being is, or what equality is, and what, you know, education is. Why are we still having to do such basic education of our youth?
Right. One important thing to understand is that in 1947-48, given the then level of global development, Pakistani women reflected that underlying socio-economic profile. And overall, conditions back then were also very bad for the vast majority of women. When we talk about Pakistan itself, the promise was that after independence, things would get much better.
Yeah.
And the state would introduce, let's say, positive discrimination in order to bridge various disparities that had existed, that were partly part of the colonial legacy and partly rooted in traditional South Asian society and attitudes. Unfortunately, this did not materialize the way it should have. And barring the Ayub regime, there does not seem to have been any great focus or emphasis on doing very much in practice to improve the lot of women. And whatever little good was done during that regime was more than reversed by the General Ziaul Haq military regime. And that legacy is still with us, but it seems as if that we're coming out of it very, very slowly and incrementally.
Okay.
And I think over here, one of the basic, let's say, threads that we lost was that Jinnah regarded the Constituent Assembly and the Parliament as being sovereign.
All right.
And he made this clear during his address on August 11th. And this was something which he had fought for his entire life. If that sovereignty had not been interrupted so frequently, and if distortions had not been introduced, maybe through an incremental, peaceful, evolutionary process, you would have had the gradual empowerment of women and other minorities and groups.
And that was a very amazing message, and that was a very wonderful thing to say. And I think for all of those people, all of those think heads who stand outside, I mean, probably,
Wait.
I think we need to focus on that
Exactly.
as well.
And I'd like to know, because I know this is, we want to talk in regards to Pakistan Day as well, but, you know, at the end of the day, women did play a vital role.
Yes.
And, you know, it's,
And
you know, I
and
feel
they're
like
still
sometimes
playing
I
a
feel like
role.
I'm being discriminatory by always highlighting women, but I think it's really important. I just want to pick up on what Dr. Niaz said.
But
that
would you mind
slowly-
if I stop you for a while? Because
Yeah.
I need to share something
Fine.
literally amazing for
Fine.
our
I can
viewers
be
out
nice.
there, because ISPR just released the national song on this occasion. And I think we need to listen to that because of the fact that it's going to raise your morale as well, and it's going to give you that adrenaline rush. So let's go, let's check that out, and we'll continue the conversation with this amazing lady and our amazing guest over here. Pakistan Zindabad.
हम खुदी का जलाल अज़मते माहो साल चूमता है कदम हर निशाने कमाल अपनी रग रग में है जज्बाए लाजवाल
जिंदगी को छू ले इन हवाओं में हम हर खुशी को छू ले इन फजाओं में हम रोशनी को छू कहकशां में हम यही जुनूं ज़ौक़े परवाज़ है धड़कनों की ये वतन पर वार दे हो अपनी जाने के दिल में है
And that was a dedication for everyone who has sacrificed their life for Pakistan, who have, did that for our safety and our security and our comforts. Anyway, and I'm going to get one last point of view from Irsad Saab on the women's role. We've talked about the importance that they play and the importance of recognizing their value and protecting them within the legal and, constitution. We have a lot of people who, leaders who are going against this kind of evolution and natural Muslim progression. That's in Islam. Women are supposed to be protected, they have equal rights, etc. How do we now empower the youth, the female youth, to say that let go of these past, pressures that the culture, which is not Islam, which is putting on you, and make yourself empowered so that you can also contribute to the society?
Let me first say that, like my wife, highly educated and who is a great Sufi, I think at home she has more rights than I have.
Just at home then?
Outside also, I think she's a very strong figure in my life. I think the most important thing is this, that we have to understand the fact that women are the most important sector of our society. A woman is a mother. She creates the child. A woman is a sister. A woman is a daughter. And more than that, a woman is a wife who shares all of your aspirations with you. A woman plays a very key role in society. And we have to recognize this fact at all levels.
Absolutely.
Not just at the level of the rich or section of the middle class. But this perhaps should be done more on media. More on media. Perhaps there should be more programs like what you're holding right now to push the idea of women in society so that this, what you're saying, reaches every section of our society.
Yes,
and
exactly.
we do that
and
as
we
well.
do that. And also, another thing I just like to highlight is that, also a woman is a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, etc. But she's also a woman.
Yes.
She doesn't have to be attached to someone to have that role in society.
Exactly.
And I think this is where we fall quite a lot.
Yes.
Okay, now moving on, Shazad, would like to bring in the rest of the youth.
Okay, so I would
stop
love to move on to
discriminating.
Jaleel Saab over here. Now, Jaleel Saab, because most of the time what we say is that the population is 63% youth, and the youngsters will do that, and then they'll transform the country. We have too many hopes on them. Do you think they're playing their role in today's Pakistan?
Yes, sir. First, I just would like to give a very small remark about the woman.
Please, absolutely.
About the woman, and I think there is a lot of misunderstanding in this society with respect to the rights of the women, and there are some people who oppose who oppose or restrict the role of the woman in the society on the basis of the religion, which is in fact just runs to the contrary to the teaching of Quran. For example, Allah Rabbul Izzat in Quran every now and then says that, in neither man has got superiority over women, neither they have got a superiority except to taqwa. Taqwa means conduct. Whose conduct? Whoever happens to exhibit a better conduct, he stands superior in the eyes of the God. So the conduct is a determining factor for the determining factor for the status of the woman in the society, number one.
And men.
And men, of course, of course. But we have certain, these problems are these social problem, and these hangovers have been created because of the heavy baggage we have inherited from our primitive past here. Unfortunately, we have been living with the Hindu culture, and Hindu culture does not provide respect, freedom, even to the equality according to their the belief and orthodox beliefs. And that is why it has impacted a lot over the Islamic, over the culture of the Muslim people here as well. Firstly, and secondly, it needs to be understood, Surah Yasin very specifically defines the Islamic ethic, and it says that, Islam believes in individualism. On the day of judgment, every person would be judged on the basis of the action performed by him, irrespective of the fact whether he's a man or a woman. If I try to narrow down the scope of action upon a woman by exercising my dictatorial will upon him, certainly I will be on the day of judgment held responsible for all the misdoing that she has been performing under my impact. So the freedom of the choices has to be guaranteed under Islamic ethic to the woman as well. Right? As a father, as a husband, my duty is to provide a facilitating environment for a better nourishment, intellectual and spirit nourishment, and I have to provide an environment where they should be able to exercise better discretionary will. Right. That is the first part of the question.
Thank you so much.
That was amazing. But now moving on to the role of youngsters.
Now the youngster, Pakistan, because as a civil servant, I was also associated as a financial advisor with the Ministry of Population Welfare, and we used to say the 65% of Pakistani population falls within the bracket of 25 to below the age of 25, or below the age of 28. So the Pakistan includes part of the Muslim world which is heavily populated by the youth. And youth is a very creative power, and it carries a lot of potential for the future of this country, provided it could be husbanded, this human resource could be properly managed and developed. In this respect, we have to make a mega plan for the development of this human resource, which will certainly in days to come will change the entire destiny of this nation.
Very interesting. I'd like to bring, first I'll come to Dr. Niaz and then move on to Irshad Saab. The youth back then played a huge role on Pakistan Day. They were part of the movement. The people were a reason why this country was able to be created, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not?
No. Good for you. Now, as today, you see, what Jaleel Saab has said, do you see the youth as active and as interested and engaged in taking the country forward?
I think
in regard to the policies and everything.
Again, I think if you look at official government policies and what the government has tried to do for the youth, not only this government but also previous governments, there are very serious capacity issues, and beyond a certain symbolic value, the policies don't penetrate very deeply, perhaps outside of your few major urban centers. Even within those urban centers, the distribution is highly uneven. In Pakistan, we had the opportunity to have a very great demographic dividend, which would have required sustained investment in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Unfortunately, you can't travel back in time, and we have lost that generational ability. So right now, I would second the idea that you need to have a mega plan. In fact, you would have to have that mega plan on an emergency footing to try and make good as much of the lost opportunity as possible. And again, in the Pakistani context, as far as the youth are concerned, one of the things which we did do in the 1970s in particular was that we crippled our private sector under the guise of nationalization. And the result is that today, as far as the youth are concerned, all of them want a government job because the private sector simply can't produce jobs at the rate that they need. And Pakistan is in an interesting situation where you have one civilian government employee for every 67 people. India has one for every 110, just to give you some idea. So for the youth in Pakistan, their ambitions have been, I would say, frustrated by the failure of the government to provide the kind of enabling environment in which they would be able to realize their
And that's
potential.
what I wanted to ask as well. Now, Ishad sir, when we move on to you, since you're a businessman as well, other than being a poet and a writer, was that back then when you started your own brainchild, was it that much of an enabling environment? Was it easier for you to be an entrepreneur back then, or is it easier for us now to take initiatives?
And also as a youth, you were able to organize protests. You know, you were able to get your voice heard. You were able to talk to the people you were protesting against. So as a youth now, what are you thinking?
You know, first, in those days, when we were protesting as youth of Pakistan, we were told that you can walk, your demonstrations can go from Government College Lahore to the assembly. And one step beyond the assembly, the police will have a go at you. So limits were set.
Okay.
Today's youth, strangely enough, I find, is passive. It has to be more aggressive.
Not passive aggressive.
Yes, that's right.
Not positively negative.
No. It must make its presence felt, you see, on all issues, all national issues. For example, jobs. You just mentioned jobs. Jobs creation. Why are they so passive about jobs creation? You know, why are they not pushing that hard? Why is it that those who have done their masters and BAs are serving as bearers in hotels?
So say it to them.
Yes.
Say it to them.
Yes. Why are they serving as bearers in hotels when they have done them? When you all have done your masters and B honors and PhDs, and you cannot find a job. This is sad.
Yes.
You have to, even if necessary, lead demonstrations to make your presence felt. You have to come out in the streets if necessary, but you have to make your presence felt. You cannot be lethargic about it anymore.
Very nice.
Great.
Very wisely said,
Wonderful.
sir. Thank you very much for being with us, gentlemen.
Thank you all. It was a wonderful conversation, and not enough time because I'd really like to get into the psychology of it all. It's really fascinating. But you know, all I'd like to say is that we've still got a long way to go. But if we all work together, and criticizing something isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as it's constructive, and also celebrate the wins. Mourn the losses together, but celebrate together too. That's what I'd like to say.
I mean, as long as you can be positively negative, that's where you learn. I mean, negatively positive or positively negative, that's where you learn. So you have to have your own aura because of the fact that, if you're not going to make your presence felt, nobody's going to ever take a look at you.
Yeah,
so
no
please
one
make
cares.
sure that you have that confidence, you have that self-actualization within your own self to progress towards prosperity.
And I'm sorry, one last word I'd like to say
Sure,
is
go
that
ahead.
don't, at the end of the day, yes, we have elders who guide us and who we go for wisdom and advice. At the end of the day, though, you have resources, you have the ability to do your research yourself. Do not follow people blindly because at the end of the day, they could lead you astray. So with that, have a wonderful day.
Yeah, obviously you're supposed to have that. And before we wind up the show, I'll say Pakistan, you know what to say, all right? Yeah, but let me say that. All right, all right, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, Pakistan Zindabad. Look
Great.
after yourselves.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A few words as far as the significance of 23rd March is concerned.
You witness everything starting from 1940.
Some time, but we want to basically take this game to the next level, and like Mr. Taimur Hassan said and Dr. Ali said, there are many upcoming youth that are very good at this game, but they don't have the exposure as such. So we're trying to promote the game as well as the same time, not only golf, also polo, you said you're a polo player
You've been there as well, man.
So we do that every year as well. Then we have golf, then we've got cricket, squash. So we're basically branching out and we're trying to promote sports in a way where it's healthy and you bring different segments together.
Very nice.
And I believe we've done a good job at this. And this is our 4th year into this sports field now.
Oh, very amazing. Moving on to Taimur Sahab over here. Now, Taimur Sahab, how essential do you think such ventures are for all those youngsters who are out there? Because the total population, 63% population, comprises of youngsters and youth as well. So how important are these ventures? Not only one organization can obviously pull it off.
No. But firstly, I have to thank Shehryar and the Serena chain of hotels simply because it is only people like them who realize their corporate responsibility and transfer it to sports.
Absolutely.
Very few of them actually realize their positions they're in. You see all these cellular companies, all these mobile companies, all these electronic companies, they're spending millions and millions on your television ads. But if they put a small percentage of that into sport and actually put that into the youth itself, and because now what is required is systems. You cannot have, when we used to play, 30 years ago, we were individuals, and as individuals we were as good as anybody in the world.
Very nice.
But they've moved on, and we are still expecting some Jahangir Khan or Jansher Khan to be reborn or Taimur Hassan to be reborn. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's because the world has moved on. The world has moved on in facilities, in training, and the athletes are much bigger. You take Djokovic, you take Federer. Rod Laver wouldn't stand a chance against these guys simply because of their physical strength, their physical fitness. They don't get injured so much because of
the facilities or the equipment there.
All the physiotherapists that are available, the diet that is now we have 2 parathas and go and play golf. It's a bit difficult.
That's the only reason why we're playing golf as well. To get rid of those 2 parathas are probably that fat, because a lot of people have a different mindset. But sir, I think you've said the right thing, and I think all of those organizations or institutes who can actually play a role, they need to do it. When else are you guys going to do that? Because there will be a time when we need to give back to the community or to the society, and a lot of people are not doing that. We still have that individualistic approach, and I think we need to get rid of that.
Absolutely.
If I'm correct.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Saab, when do you think there will be a time that we might see a champion for Pakistan within golf?
You see, we already have youngsters playing pretty good.
Yeah.
I would just name Hamza Amin.
Very nice.
Who is
belongs to Taimur Sahab as well.
Taimur Hassan's son. He has qualified recently for the Asian Tour.
Very nice.
And then we have Shabir. He's a quality player, but I think personally that we have to change. You see, the PGF has to change policies. We have to promote golf at the grassroots level, which is like school. And I would recommend that PGF now should come up with the academy.
Right.
A golf academy.
Very nice idea.
Where you can teach, youngsters.
And you have all the equipment and you have all the facility, because golf is not like it's an expensive game. So it pretty much is difficult for a lot of people to play golf.
It's a high-end game.
And when you get an academy and you take an admission probably, or if you have it on school levels, I think that'll be a better idea as well.
Today, even a cricket bat is 25,000-30,000 rupees. A good one. So a tennis racket is expensive. You have to have the same facilities. If you expect them to play well, you have to have the same turf here. The same speed has to be, if you want a tennis court here, if you want to play a Roland Garros, then you have to have the same clay court here. Or you want a grass court.
But now how do we do that, Tari
Dekhanji, the way to do that is that, like I said, we depend far too much on government.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous to say that government should do this and government should do that. There are federations, there are ways of raising money, there are ways of pooling in, everybody should pool in together and move forward. If let's say 3-4 federations get together and make a gym and let all those sportsmen use that gym, they can nominate physiotherapists, they can do a lot, but they all have to get together and be on the same stage to be able to understand that.
And I think media can play a very positive role in these terms as well, because whenever it comes to a natural calamity, or probably because we are in nature we are philanthropic as well, and
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
the world has rated us #1 in being philanthropic. But on the other hand, I think we need to promote these things. For example, you know, having you on the show, I think is an amazing opportunity where we are highlighting the areas where we need to invest in. Shahryar Sahib wanted to add on to something, so go on.
Yeah, you see, because what I was saying is that there are many corporations like us in this country, but you know, you have to have a vision. I mean, you
Yes.
can't just be a big powerful company or a big powerful corporation and not do anything, you know, with sports or CSR.
But before you say another word, you can sit back and relax as well, so that, you know,
No, I'm
people get
actually
a brief
sitting at
idea.
this. I'm actually very
All right.
relaxed. I like this set. You know, this is about 3-4 years ago. Our CEO also, Mr. Aziz Bulani. You see, it has to come from the top. You know, he has to basically lay the groundwork for this, and he has to be himself be involved. You know, hands-on with this sort of thing, and this is why it's come this far. You know, it can't just be me. Or, you know, we have a whole team, and it's not just one-day planning. We actually plan these events well in advance. You know, it's a whole team. We go out there. We know what we're doing. So we're very glad to do this, and we want to do this for the next 5-6 years.
Very
at least
nice.
for
And
now.
you're not just going to stick to golf as well.
No,
you're
no,
going
we
to-
don't stick to golf. Like I said, you know, golf
Squash.
is something that we do, which is obviously a very high-end event. There's also polo. There's also the chief of air staff squash, which we just did about 2 weeks ago.
Very nice.
And then, so we're going to branch out
Very
into
prestigious titles as well.
Well, you know, it's a
Amazing that it's
prestigious country. So
I would just want to add to
Sure,
this thing that we have IGC. We have already signed an agreement with Serena Hotels that they're going to be inshallah sponsors for
And
the same
we have a
championship
MOU,
till
memorandum.
2018.
Okay.
So that's, you know, a pretty good
So you don't
thing. I
need
mean,
any
such
more
good sponsors.
sponsors,
I
or
mean,
you guys-
We don't have to look for sponsors.
Look for sponsors.
We already have a prestigious sponsor,
Yeah.
and we would like to improve our relations with them further and try and accommodate them to the maximum so that they get something out of it too. You know, it's not a one-way street. We have to accommodate them. So if they want to project something, or they want to show some or demonstrate some kind of
Okay, but Taimur Sahib,
advertisement
now,
for themselves.
if you don't mind me
Ji, ji.
asking, how's the current situation in terms of golf as well in entire Pakistan, not just in Islamabad or Islamabad Golf Club?
If you look at the last 7-8 years, the prize money has gone up tenfold. Obviously, we as organizers, we as former players, we would like the thing to go 50 times more.
Yeah.
But keeping in view with what's happening, we have a very, very organized schedule for the year. So today, your players know that they'll be at this tournament every year. They are preparing. And now our top 30 players make reasonable money. Our leading 10 players make a lot of money. Our leading players, Shabir Iqbal is the best player in the country. Munir is just as good. Matloob, they're all making 3-4 million rupees a year in prize money. And then they get their sponsors. But we always welcome more sponsors. Obviously, on the lower end, it's more, we are the only, if you actually accept my claim, other than cricket, I think we are the most organized sport with the highest prize money in the country.
That's true.
Including cricket.
That's true.
Okay.
And why I say including, you forget test cricket, because then there's television involved and everybody gets crazy, you know, PTV will go nuts with it. But the question is, in projecting it, but when you want to tell them, okay, why don't you come and, show the golf tournament? Sometimes they do. They've done a few tournaments in Karachi, and we are very grateful to the PTV for doing that. But obviously, you need a lot more cameras. You need a lot more experience. It's a lot more expensive.
And gradually we'll build up. on
I'm
that,
sure.
you know.
I'm sure. But again, we have to work. Our sport looks healthy. It needs a lot more organization.
Exactly. Okay, now, but other than Pakistan television doing what they are supposed to do and promoting their culture and promoting the games, which are obviously, you know, within the society, or probably quite famous within the community as well. Other than that, how do you think private media can play a very positive role in promoting all of these games? Because quite a lot of people don't even get to know the names of these amazing players as well.
Yeah, that's true. Again, you know, it's more programs like this where you call the professionals, you talk to them, you go out, you come to a golf club, you show some them and interview them.
Yeah.
Listen to their issues, listen to whether they're you know, what their ideas are, how it should be promoted. That's one way of doing it. Number two, you know, sports itself, PTV has a sports channel.
Yes.
And we are grateful. We as sportsmen are very grateful that at least we are seeing all
Finally we
these.
have.
We know, but we are seeing. We saw the Rugby World Cup
I mean, rugby was,
It was amazing.
It was amazing, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
So like that, when you have, and there again, I request the corporate side to come forward to support youth and younger players in terms of not only jobs, because our only concern is we want jobs.
Yeah.
It's not jobs. It's to go through the federation, combine with the federation, and see, all right, ask the federation, what do you need? And then instead of giving them money, say, just do that.
Yeah, I think that's a better idea.
So that there's transparency. Serena comes forward and we say, we are more than welcome, please do this. This is what we want, and they are very generous and very kind enough to do that.
Very
so the
nice.
tournament, the result is absolutely amazing. We have a great match.
It keeps on going as well.
It keeps going, and
keeps
we
on
have
flowing.
we have no tension, because this is our list of requirements, and they are
no
very
strings attached now. Very nice.
So they do it themselves. They know how to do it. They're professional. So it makes our event look absolutely perfect.
Amazing that is. But Dr. Saab, moving on to you now, if you think that you might have left out any other issues, you can probably highlight it. This is the best chance to do that.
Regarding, related what?
Regarding any sports activities, anything which you think that, this is something which needs to be done as well in Pakistan, and in this manner we might probably be able to pick up the sport.
Well, as I said before, I think the most imperative thing is to have this golf academy where you have got trained teachers, and then you can have train the teacher program.
Then we can probably train our cameramen over there as well.
Yeah. And I had this commitment with the media very recently that we're going to hold a workshop for the media where we can make them familiar with the golf scoring and rules and regulations.
And then they're playing on the last day too, right, Doctor? They'll be playing on the last day.
They'll be having this putting competition on the last day. We have kept a putting competition for the media. So we have got the 3 prizes and 3.
Quite interesting it is, I think. They're quite amazing.
I think while we are doing this workshop with them, I think they've also requested to learn the terminology and the scoring system. What's a birdie, what's a par, what's a bogey. So
probably we can go on with that for now.
Yes.
Just if you feel like sharing, because I even don't know what that is. So go ahead.
Well, golf is it's 18 holes.
Okay.
18 holes, and there are different distances. Each distance, there's a requirement of, if it's less than, let's say, 250 yards, it's for a par 3. Par 3 means one shot to get to the green where the hole is, and take 2 putts. Then from 270 yards to now almost 490 yards is par 4. So you take 2 shots to get to where the hole is. That's called the green, and 2 putts. And then there's from 500 yards till 650 yards is a par 5, where you take 3 shots to get on the green and then 2 putts. So in all 18 holes, you have 2 putts is the standard scoring.
Regulation play.
And that's regulation play. Now, obviously, if you are, your average is, let's say, 8 over, so your score will be 80. And then Dr. Saab is in charge of handicapping, and then so what they do is, like in polo, they handicap you.
Yeah.
So that means if you're playing with the Shabir Iqbal, he's got to give you 8 shots advantage.
All right.
So that's how the scoring is done.
So just to be at par.
It's like your polo, when you play a 10-goal player.
But thank you very much, guys, for coming over. Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much for highlighting all of those issues.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting us.
But keep on sitting. No, don't stand. All right, but for all those ladies and gentlemen who are out there, the only thing with which I wanted to end the show is that my heart definitely goes out to all of those earthquake victims who are out there. Please remember them in your prayers. And if there's something which you can do probably for them, please make sure that you're going to do that, you're going to step up, and you're going to act like a true Pakistani as well. Look after yourselves, stay blessed, Pakistan, Zindabad. Don't forget to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, it's World This Morning. And on Dailymotion, it's World This Morning. Catch the rerun at 12:05. Look after yourselves. Good morning.